Hey everyone, welcome to your daily update for BTC and SOL. Starting with liquidity, it's really starting to even out, top and bottom. So one day liquidity, BTC looks like it probably wants to build a little bit more to the downside. SOL, on the other hand, is getting very, very, very even. Definitely looks like it's setting up for some kind of news event, some kind of sweep. If they were to kick that sweep off today, I think just given the complete bullishness of crypto Twitter and all that stuff at the moment, people would probably just buy that dip and buy that dip and buy that dip. So it's likely that whatever liquidity they want to the downside on BTC would just actually appear as the price goes down. So it looks pretty much like SOL would take a bit of a dive to that 200 area. It still has some pending moves though, up to 218. So maybe what ends up happening first is BTC takes a bit of a drive up to the 114 area, brings SOL up with it, and then it goes down. But one way or another, it's definitely looking like there is going to be some action. If we have a look at the 7-day, 7-day liquidity has plenty to the downside to be taken in either scenario. So it's getting a bit out of balance, but it is balanced between the two. So, 106, 105, 189, those sort of areas, maybe a retest of 195 on SOL there, but it's definitely building up. And if we have a look at the 30-day, the 30-day liquidity, still not a massive amount to the downside on BTC, not within the sort of economical range to go and grab. SOL certainly down to that sort of 179, 180 type area. There's plenty down there. And yeah, to the upside, we've got that cluster there at 218. So I'm still sort of waiting for it to take both sides really. It's always bullish if they take the downside first and then push into the short squeeze and then settle the price higher, and then the liquidity sort of chases late and then builds a new bottom but at a higher price. So that's the bullish scenario. The bearish scenario, of course, is they go and sweep the highs first. If they ever sweep the highs first, then generally speaking, it's going to be heading much lower. So, but yeah, it's a weekend, and having a look at the short-term liquidity, they've had a bit of fun even just recently. BTC, they basically took it up to that $113,000 area and then dumped it $3,000 and just wiped out all of the longs that were chasing. And I was actually expecting it to go a little bit higher on BTC. I thought they would probably take it up to that sort of 114, but managed to get SOL pretty accurate. I TP'd out about 40% of my positions by the time it got up to that 209 mark. And so now it's just let's wait and see what daily close brings and whether they're going to push it down further. And the closes at this stage, like we're still 2 hours out and a lot can change in 2 hours, but the closes at this stage are looking moderately bearish for another short-term dump. So let's have a look at these charts. So SOL BTC Strength, it's not losing the uptrend. It's not even rejecting off the uptrend. It's pretty much just doing nothing. So this is a real nothing close. The next candle could still push up to the hold level here, which means you might get that push up to the 218 level. But approaching it from completely the wrong side of the trend typically results in a rejection off the hold level and then a move down to the previous trend. So yeah, basically strength is just sitting in the middle. One way or another, we want this to go and hit one side and hit the other, because at least, whether it's down and then up or up and then down, at least it then resolves pending moves really. So yeah, at the moment, it's not really saying too much. This one's probably a little bit more critical as we get towards the end of the week. If this was to open a new candle on the other side of the trend, then we could get a rejection off the backside of the range trend. So it sort of gained it, it bounced off it, it hit the break level up here at 19012. So effectively, the break level's job is to reject a trend. If it can break the trend, e.g. we get another weekly candle to the downside under here, then that means that becomes an origin level, and then an origin level can then be overcome later to bounce up to break out to the next level. So generally speaking, there's a couple of things you need if you ever want to leave a range. One of them is you need a break level to reject in such a way that it creates an origin, and then you need that origin to be overcome to create a break out of the range. So we are currently in a weekly rejection of a break level. The next step is for it to break a trend or have a second week of distribution, which would then mean SOL gets ultimately quite weak. But there's also little warning signs down here. One is that we never actually did a proper exact retest of this 16799 area. The candle sort of hard closed here in the previous week, and so you would expect us to come back down here and retest this. And just to, maybe there's a little bit more education than daily update, but what you see right here is a break level that formed here. It gets converted to an origin level because of this distribution after it gets hit here. It gets hard closed here. So for us to break out of this level, the next sort of scenario is that we hit that and we go up to there. And by doing that over a period of, say, 1 to 2 weeks, we actually create distribution against this level, which converts it to being an origin level. And then if we get above it, we can do that, and then we can come up here. So it looks like from a weekly perspective, we should retest this bottom range, which means this top range becomes the origin, which then means we can overcome the origin, which means we can go higher. So all things considered, it long term looks bullish, but at short term, at least for maybe 1 to 2 weeks, looks like we might see a bit of pain. Which, when we look at the monthly, doesn't really mean much because we still haven't really hard closed the monthly. So, and we are still waiting for a move on the monthly from this 17749 level up to this level. So, if we were to spend, say, 2 weeks creating a bit more pain, say 1 to 2 weeks of more pain, and then bounce off the monthly level and then go up to there, it all just kind of builds into time frames. Really, the weeklies become the monthlies, and so on. So let's have a look at our strength assets. So I posted this one, just a bit of an update in the Discord earlier, but when we closed this here on the daily yesterday, we created this range trend. We've come up, we've rejected, and we've gone back to the hold level. So the strength of BTC and stables versus altcoins has just sort of been bouncing up and down as this move has been in play. So there's not really too much more to look at with that. We still haven't really hard closed these trends, so we could come down further. Well, now that we've hit the hold level, we could work our way up and try to get over. The next level here, really, if we want to see weakness or further weakness in alts, the next level is the 65.46 rejection. But we've got to get over the range trend for that first, and yeah, that may not happen anytime soon. We'll see. As far as Bitcoin, actually, just skipping back, totals, looking at totals. Yeah, they've rejected off that 348 level. We haven't actually touched this hold level yet down here at 339.64. So, but we're not, as long as they don't drive that price down, we're not going to lose trend today. So we may get a dive of trend to the hold level, and then a push up from the hold level up to one of these higher break levels. So just keep an eye on that 339.64 level. It should act as support. We're approaching it from the top side of the trend, so it's not so bad. And looking at it on the weekly, we're still up inside the weeklies, and we've rejected basically off the backside of that range trend, but we've found support on the older trend, and really the next target should be that 3.7 T area. So yeah, from a weekly perspective, there's nothing really that bad about this. It looks like it might stuff around here for a little bit longer. Maybe we get a little bit of a dip. We have retested this level. I mean, there is the chance that we do get some shock news and we come all the way down here and we retest this level at 3.23 because that's been hard closed. It's pending a retest. But as long as we do it from the top side of the trend, and we have that hold level target up there at 3.7, then we just long the hell out of that on any strong tokens and we just take it back up to there. So it's not that bad from a weekly perspective. Okay, now let's get bearish. Bitcoin looks like death again. It's gone and rejected off this 113 level, which didn't really, yeah, like I say, I didn't expect it really to reject off that level. I thought we would have got to 114, 116. But it's still really just in the middle. We have this daily hold level that we talked about yesterday at 111, 118. So we've hit that hold level now. Minimum expectations would be that we come down and test the trend. So yeah, we really should come down below 110, if not lower. But good news, we're still up over that weekly origin. As long as we stay over that 108 weekly origin for the weekly close, then we can dive it and do all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't really matter. It'll get to come back up. So yeah, as far as the daily goes, I'd probably be expecting, if anything, that we get some more downside. But we do have those levels to the upside to be tested. So let's see. So the 2-day close today is going to close, assuming it closes here, it's not a loss of that uptrend, but it's back under the uptrend, and ideally we just wanted to stay above that. So we've rejected off that hold level. We've done a bit of a sweep, and I'd be more bearish on this if it comes down a bit further before close, like in the next couple of hours, if you see them selling the price down to get back under this downtrend. But for now, if it closes around here, we may get another little push up. We may get a sweep from the top side of the trend. It is a little odd that it didn't come up to this hold level up here. So bouncing off this trend, we really should have gone up there. Now, but it does get a little bearish if they do that on the next candle and then come back down again, because that's kind of where they do a liquidity sweep of a trend and then push back down, and that usually means they're going to go for a deeper downwards move. Now we are going to have, if we close blue like this, we're going to have this range trend form around that 110 area. Now, if they hit that, they could sweep up to that 114, which meets those sort of targets that we're expecting, but it just took a little longer. But then if they reject off that 114 level and push down below that range trend for tomorrow, then yeah, then it goes down, and it would have to look for something. It would actually be something down in this area to retest, 101, 102, those sort of areas. It's actually, yeah, it could come back down to that sort of area there, which was one that supported that whole range for a long time. So if we lose the trend, we might as well come all the way back down there, but I guess we shall see how that plays out. And on the 4-day, you can see we've had a really good example of range trends in play. When we closed underneath this range trend up here at about 112, we created at the same time one off this whole candle down here, which was created around that 108 area, and then the prices basically bounced between the trends. But as it stands, it looks like it will close under the uptrend, and without sounding like a broken record, it's not a loss of the uptrend, but it's also just a really bad place to be, because if we test any of these horizontal levels, or even if we go and test that range trend again, and if we do it from the wrong side of a general support trend, then typically what happens is over the next 4 days that rejects back down and goes deeper, and we have got this hold level down here at 104,500, which would be the next level capable of creating a range trend. if we needed to recover from any kind of loss of this upper range. So, and we have also hit the break level on this range here, so that this little tap of the break level here, which is 107,400. So really the only outcome from this is either that break level has to become an origin level, and it can only do that if we get another 4-day candle in accumulation, and if we actually break the downtrend, which will form today here. So that gives us another point of rejection, really. So that would be if it pushed up through this trend, and that starts at about 111, 112, then we've got another point of rejection to come back down potentially to this 104 area. So, yep, it's actually looking a bit bearish, really. And, well, let's not talk about 92K before it's too soon, but this 106,400 level here on the 8-day, so it looks like we might open on the wrong side of this trend, which means you could reject off the back side of that trend and come down to do the retest of that 106,400 level. So that looks also like it's setting up for some kind of bearish dip. And the thing that's not so great about this is we sort of had a backside rejection in here, but it never led to creation of a trend, which means that support that's coming through there is actually not that strong. So whether that holds or whether that collapses, yeah, it's open to debate. Okay, 31-day. Well, this is very similar time frame to the monthly, and as it stands, if we look at this on the daily, I posted this one in the Discord as well. So when you look at it here on the 31-day, it looks like it's holding just above the support trend, but once you actually zoom in on that, you'll notice it was a very clean rejection straight off the backside of that trend, which this is sort of what I refer to as polarity. It's a time frame that hasn't closed yet. We're not under the trend yet, but when you look at it from a lower time frame, it's as if it really wants to. So that rejection on that 31-day backside of that 31-day trend there sort of implies that this thing wants to go down, and it looks like it's going to close at this stage in a pretty good position to reject off this little wee trend that was there, went there when it got broken, got swept, price hit rejection on the exterior resistance, and it's come back down and it's now sitting just under there. So if this thing rejects, it would retest that 102 area, and if that 102 hard close range didn't push it back up to a new high, if it failed, then realistically it brings that 86 back into play. So it's yeah, Bitcoin's looking pretty bearish. And if we can close up today, and that means managing for the next hour and 36 minutes to stay over 108, 145. So if we manage to do that, what ends up happening is we actually shift this trend that was running through here, and it moves to the top side. So this is good and bad, because what it really does is it shows us a range. Like, so if we then retest the hard close trend, that has confluence with that backside break retest on the 31-day, which means we could hit the 101, 102 area and then quite literally bounce to a new all-time high, maybe that 126 area. So from this, I think from looking at all these closes today, I think it would be a very, very smart idea not to underestimate the fact we could have a big dip, and it may be coming sooner than we think. But at the same time, it looks like it could be an opportunity to buy that dip and then take it up to all-time highs. So we might be about to see that. So that's Bitcoin. What else do we have? We have the 124-day, which is insanely bearish, really. It looks like it could come. So there are these timeframes are in play, and they're pointing at the 80K mark to retest, I should say, those lower trends. So Yeah, right. Let's have a look at Sol now that we've had a big bear roar. Let's see what Sol's up to. So Sol's a bit funny. So it's rejected off the daily level at 209. So that was why I TP'd there. And much like everything we've just talked about with what Bitcoin could do next, this is what Sol's kind of already done. It started from the underside of a trend. It's pushed up, hit the hold level, and then before the close of the candle, it's retraced the whole way back down again. The thing that is a little bit different here is that we still actually have daily hold levels to the downside that weren't quite touched, and our trends for support are actually in closer proximity. So it's hard to actually correlate what's going on at the moment between BTC and SOL, because on one hand, the actual BTC SOL chart looks like it really needs a rejection, which means big weakness coming into SOL. On the other hand, SOL looks like it has a lot more support to bounce off, whereas BTC just looks like a ginormous air gap of $8,000. And yeah, as far as how you would play that, I'm going to start by basically just scalping these daily levels, but conservatively taking profits on them. So, entering at anything below 200 with a low leverage position, but actually taking profits off that at 204, maybe even just at the backside of the trend again, and just keep playing that. And watch it bounce, watch it bounce, watch it bounce, pretty much until I'm confident that BTC's actually found a bottom, because at this stage it just doesn't look like BTC's found a bottom. It looks like everybody is so bullish on it, and it maybe wants to give them a bit more pain. So let's have a look at this 2-day. So the 2-day trade played out. So we had our hold level that got hit, we went up, and that's done. What hasn't happened yet is this older 2-day that's in here, and that should send us up to this 118 level. The only problem with that really happening is that this range trend got in the way. So we've done the range trend back to the hold, we've done the hold back to the minimum fib level. We haven't been able to get to the 218.9 level yet, because effectively we created this range trend. And what we really need is we need SOL to go up a little bit before the end of the day. Make sure it just stays nicely above that uptrend, and if it does, it has the ability to push through to that 218 level. But if that pushes through to that 218 level at the same time that you get some kind of topside liquidity sweep on BTC, then chances are both of them are going to tank. So just, yep. All right, the 4-day. So 4-day's gone from the underside of the trend, it's gone up, it's at the hold, it's rejected down. So as long as this stays up a little bit from here, it could give us another bounce. But if it was to pull back even just a little bit more, like if we close the day, say around 201, 202, then it might just bounce off the backside of this trend and then come down to that next trend around 192. We also need to retest the break there, which got hard closed on that candle, and we haven't actually had a retest of that, and that sort of lines up with just a move as well between the top side trend and the bottom side trend. So and the next level on that time frame of interest is all the way down here at 172. So, and we've got that hold level down there, but it doesn't look like it could get there. The only way this thing really is going to move to these depths is if BTC really takes a dump and this just goes for a dive along with it. But it's in such a good position to do that, that if it did do a really big dive along with BTC, it's going to come back really fast, which has confluence with if we were to get something like a retest on that SOL BTC chart. Like if it comes from the top side, dives all the way down to these lows, hits these hold levels, then you just get those really big moves back up again. And that is basically a liquidation event in a nutshell. they set it up to wipe out everything and then return really quickly so that the liquidity comes in at that higher level, and then the whole price structure moves up along with it because the next liquidation doesn't need to be so deep. The 8-day, so 8 days also got a hold level down there at 191, hasn't tested it yet. It's what's that? Oh no, that's been retested, so there's not too much on that 8-day. I mean, it's rejecting off the 8-day trend. You would expect it to go back to the hold. You can see it's right there on that line. So if this was to close below that sort of 202 area, anywhere around that 202 area at the end of the day, then you could expect it to reject off the backside of that trend and come back to that hold. But this is a really good support area here, in that sort of 188, 189, 190s. It's a very, very good support area. So the bullish scenario, of course, is it stays above this trend and then bounces off the top side of it, and then we get another test of these upper levels again. So this is crypto. It literally just lives on a cliff most days, and it's either going to bounce one way or the other, but it always keeps you guessing right to the end. The 31-day isn't really telling us much. It's going to close above trend. We got a hold level down there at 153. Chances of it getting to that hold level is pretty slim at this stage, and it would most likely bounce off the top side of the 180s first and then head up to the 230s. So like I wouldn't be sitting not in a trade waiting for 153, put it that way. You're better off having low risk, low leverage trades. And I mentioned several weeks ago in a video that I'll just start now with low leverage. So that account is up nearly about 100% in 30 days. So you can play these little ranges. Eventually there'll be some big move and you're either going to be in or you're going to be out, but maybe that big move puts you in drawdown. But if it's low leverage, it's not going to get you, and then you have the ability to increase the leverage and size, get a better average entry, and then run it all the way up. So but it's still looking positive on that higher time frame. And same thing when we start looking at things like the 62-day time frame. We've not lost that uptrend. This is closing above some pretty key levels around 188, and there's not a lot of resistance after that. It becomes pretty much free air to the upside, so looking pretty positive. And of course, this is just a replica. So if we look at the 124-day, it's pretty much just showing us what our 4-month time frame already created recently, and that's that somewhere in the mix we're going to have this 180s, 190s. Maybe we go a bit below it, whatever, but in the end we come back up and we either run into this trend to the upside that's around the 240s, or we get all the way up to that 247. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. So short version is BTC's really looks like it's on a cliff and seems like it wants to fall off that cliff. SOL really wants to go up, and it's got plenty of support below it. We are really dependent on today's close. If they start to close below some of these trends, then yeah, expect that rejection. And given it's a weekend, the whole point of doing that is really just to bring in that short liquidity. It's to get everybody shorting. And if they make the weekend look really, really bad, it's because somewhere in that sort of next week to 2 weeks, it's because they want to drive the price back up through all the shorts. But it's, yeah, I think at this stage, it's just a low leverage swing trade and scalping weekend. I wouldn't open anything big or anything high leverage until we actually see some kind of liquidity sweep, because everything seems to be building up to that. As far as ENA, just show you this because this kind of stuff just haunts my dreams. As you can see, we got that nice big candle on that. Damn it, missed that one. But we'll wait. If we do keep an eye on this, if it comes back down to about that 54 cent mark, if it retests any of these trends down on the lower level here, then let's take those trends and let's run them up from there. And I don't think there's much else. Well, SUI. So took some of that position off again at 3.4 as mentioned yesterday, just waiting to see if that comes back down again to trend. So the target for this is, the conservative target is basically this 3.8, but then it's going to have to bounce up off the trend at some point and hit that break level at 4.3, and then if we do hit the range trend, which is down here at about 2.7s, then the targets change slightly and it becomes that topside range trend, which is up there at about that $5 mark. So I think this is probably a more predictable trade than SOL right now. But yep, for the moment, decrease the size of the position. We'll add back in if we come down here, and just keep playing it as it bounces until eventually it'll take off up to those targets. So yeah, cool. That's all for today. And like, subscribe, and yeah, we'll catch you again on the next one. Cheers. Bye.